Welcome on in to OneSoccer.ca, everybody. Andy Petrillo, Oliver Platt with you. Alex Gangue, Ruzic joining us, as well as our boy Jordan Wilson. And we got some CONCACAF Champions League to discuss, gentlemen. And it was a great night for CF Montreal. They end up defeating Santos Laguna on aggregate 3-0. So they are now off to the next stage. This is a team only, as we know, back in 2015, they made it all the way to the final, the first Canadian team to do so before Toronto FC followed suit in 2018. When you look at Montreal's roster, do you think this is a team that could get to that final again? Can they challenge for the title?
Yeah, I think they can. If that performance last night is anything to go by, then for sure. You know, I know Santos Laguna is not in good form at all at the minute, but they're still, you know, a Liga MX team. You have to give them at least some respect. And Montreal played them off the pitch, right? Like, it was a really good performance, much better than in the first leg. And I like the direction this Montreal team is going in. So I think they have a chance for sure. But more broadly, I'd say, like, I think this has got to be the year that an MLS team wins it. When you look at the field of teams going into the quarterfinal, like, it's not like a really strong group of Mexican teams, in my opinion. Santos Laguna is out, obviously. Leon has been really unconvincing in the Champions League. Pumas, I think they're good, not great. And then Cruz is always the big one that I think is going to be a really big challenge for anyone who comes up against them. But, no Monterrey, no America, no Tigres, like the big powers that we've seen dominate this competition in recent years, they're not there this year. And when you look at Montreal, you look at Seattle, New England, two of the top teams in MLS, like, for me, this is the year you look at and say, if it's not going to happen now, when is it going to happen? Because I think they've got a real chance of one of those sides winning the competition.
Well, we said it last week, Ollie. Last time I was on the show, I said Montreal was going to do it, and you guys kind of looked at me. You and Hot Wheels both kind of, we don't know. I said, bet on Montreal. And now look.
I'm with you.
Hey, I feel like now's the time for them. They're playing attractive football. There's belief in the squad. And, yeah, I really feel like they can go all the way, at least to the final, and then anything can happen then.
Yeah.
I look at their team. I think they got kind of the pieces needed. I think first and foremost, for a championship run, I think you need a solid back line. I think the fact that Montreal's got such a solid back five, you see yesterday they started with Joel Waterman, Rudy Camacho, Kamal Miller, and the fact that they got Gabriel Corbo, Alistair Johnston not even starting. They've got Sebastian Breza, who looks very, he looks up for the challenge in goal. You got Victor Wanyama holding down the midfield. You've got that solidity, and it's just a question of goals. I think where are the goals going to come from? We started to see that yesterday. Georgi Mihailovic, if he's going to keep playing the way he is, he can certainly drag them far. And then you got Romel Kyoto. As long as he stays healthy, he showed that he's one of the best, if not, he could be in the discussion for at least, beyond a few names, one of the best number 9s in CONCACAF when he's healthy, just the way he can finish on both feet and just find that separation behind defenders. So I see there's a lot of recipes for them. And obviously Montreal has history in the Champions League. They've done well before, and it's going to be interesting to see how they test themselves. Say it's Cruz Azul. I think if they can get by that, the door kind of opens up for them to make a run. So it's really this next round, I think, is going to be key. But they've got all the pieces. They passed the first test of being out of form and taking on a Mexican team. The sky is kind of the limit for them in that sense.
That one goal was a beauty, that bar down goal, that's for sure. And, we kind of touched on this on our Tuesday show because, Josie Altidore had made the comment about teams, he wants to see them going for broke. I just hope that we don't see a CF Montreal team do so well in CONCACAF Champions League, and then because of that, their regular season in MLS ends up suffering, because we've seen this before with MLS teams, and obviously the most recent being Toronto FC and what happened to them in 2018, right? So it would be great to see Montreal do this, but I know, like Ollie, I mean, that's a discussion maybe that can be a lot bigger about maybe changes that the league needs to make, MLS that is, to kind of help these teams who go far in CONCACAF Champions League. But I guess that would be the other question is, do they have the depth to even do well in both, right? That tournament in CONCACAF Champions League and the league.
Yeah, same thing happened to Kansas City in 2019 as well. It's still a big problem. I think you've just got to hope at this point that, like, I think these teams talk to each other, right? They talk to the coaches talk to each other. If they've been in the Champions League in the past, they try and get some advice on how to handle it. And the really difficult thing, I think, has been how do you handle preseason when you're playing such big games straight out of the gate? How do you maybe kind of gradually build the players up to a point where they're peaking at the end of the year, which is obviously what you have to do in MLS, as opposed to giving their best effort at the start of the year, or being ready to give their best effort at the start of the year, but then tailing off as the season goes on physically. I don't know if they've really found a solution to that. And like you said, the long-term solution is to figure out how we can maybe adjust the tournament to be more, for there to be more parity on that front. But it's going to be a challenge for Montreal for sure.
Coming up in about 90 minutes time, we actually have another Canadian team, that is Forge FC, who's going to be kicking off this time. They're playing in Azteca, taking on Cruz Azul. They're down 1-0. That was back at home, which I think a lot of people were even shocked, because Cruz Azul, I mean, they are one of the giants in this team. And for Forge, they were able to hold them to just 1 goal. And if you're Forge, you're probably going, shouldn't have even given that goal up. But when you look at that game, Jordan, what kind of gives you just maybe some confidence here that Forge can hold their own on the road? What did you even like in that first game that you want to see more of in the second one?
I liked the way in which they went about the game. We played them a week before, and they kind of looked a bit tired and maybe lackluster. It's a preseason game, so it doesn't really matter. But I was expecting them to maybe get pumped like 3-0, to be honest. But they came out with like some belief, and it was an even game. Halfway through the first half, if Borge is a month in advance, like if he had just a bit more preseason in his legs, I feel like he finishes a big chance as well, and they go 1-0 up. But it impressed me that they fought and they went after it, because you could easily be a home team and this is your first game for the season, and you could just sit back and just bunker in, park the bus, and have Cruz Azul have the ball all the time and just invite pressure. But they played, and you could see that they wanted to go and get a goal and chase it. And it's super unlucky with the goal that Cruz Azul scored, because I think it's a fair result to have a 0-0 game, or even a 1-1 game. But to go down, it was just, it took the win out of the sails, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, no, yeah, no, sorry. I was just going to say, I think for them, the challenge now that you've given up a goal, it kind of makes it interesting to see what Bobby Smirnotis's game plan is going to be, because you're down that away goal. Realistically, to win or to go, even have a chance to go through, you need at least your 1-0, and obviously you're probably going to need more with the away goals rule. With nothing, you still got a month and a half, I think, to the CPL season. This could be your last big game for a while. Do you go for it? You're gonna, if you're gonna sit back and defend a 0-0, there's really no point for that. You have to chase the away goal. So I'd be curious to see how they, go and try to respond to this occasion. You're playing at the Azteca. You're playing a top team. You got a chance to wield. The last week that you can show you can hang with these sorts of teams. So I'm going to be curious to see if Bobby Smirnotis kind of goes for that same approach like he did last week, or if he's going to go for a little more typical road performance. So I'm just kind of looking to see how he's going to balance that act.
Well, that's the thing with Bobby, is that I think he wants his team to play the same way everywhere, right? Home, away, regardless of opponent. Like, they know what their football is, and that's what they try and do. And that's brave. Like, you can, if you do that and you're the weaker team on paper in terms of quality, you can have days where you get beat 4 or 5-0 if you're up against a team like Cruz Azul. But it also, on the good days, it gives you a chance, right? Because you are actually trying to pass the ball, trying to create, trying to cause them problems defensively, rather than just bunkering and trying to survive 90 minutes, which is, for me, it's a long shot for Forge to be able to withstand that kind of pressure against a team like Cruz Azul. So we'll see. I think it's served them well so far, the way that they approach every game like they're at home at Tim Hortons Field and the favourites to win, right? They're going to play their football and see where that takes them.
You wonder, obviously, with Forge getting their feet under them, even with this tournament here, if they would be considered the favorite heading into the season, although I'm sure Jordan and Y9, that's right, I went Y9 on that one, might have something to say about it. Pacific, the defending champs, we know have just been dismantled with a lot of players moving. By the way, Caden Chung, it was just announced, he too has been signed by Toronto FC, along with his partner, Lucas McNaughton there, who had already been signed. Yeah, about a few weeks prior, we had already heard that. So let's get into some MLS talk here. And I love putting you guys on the spot and giving predictions, because it's a shot in the dark. We know that, but it doesn't matter, because we're always going to go back and ruthlessly make fun of you if you got it wrong. This is just what we do here, because why not? So let's make some predictions. I'll begin with you, Alex. When you look at the 3 Canadian MLS teams, Which of them do you think is most likely to have a player that would win an end of season award?
Oh boy, player. I guess to go on the spot for that one, let's say Ryan Gauld in Vancouver. I'll stick with the local team. I think from what he showed in that half season, the fact that he was even in borderline MVP and newcomer of the year discussions kind of gives you an idea of what sort of quality he has. So now that he's going to get a full season of Vanni Sartini under his belt, I think there's no reason why he can't compete with the for an MVP award. I guess I'll say honorable mention for Georgi Mihailovic, since I shouted him out earlier over in Montreal. I just look at Toronto. There's so many moving parts that, maybe Lorenzo Insigne competes for newcomer of the year. If he has a, torrid second half, he certainly has the name to compete for an award. But I'm looking just in terms of what I know now. I think Ryan Gauld's certainly a shout. And my honorable mention, another one, since I'll drop it. Since you said player, it kind of made me switch lanes, but I was going to say Vanni Sartini for head coach, purely just because his vibe and the way he's perceived around MLS will give him a shot to win an award like that. Because whether we like to admit it or not, awards are narrative-based things. They don't always reflect what people think, and what we see on the field. So the fact that Vanni Sartini is such a likable guy does give him a long shot for coach of the year if the Whitecaps do well.
I like how you named you're just like spreading the net out wide. Like, I'm going to name this guy. You're just like covering all your bases, Alex. Okay, veteran move. Jordan, I'll put you on the spot. Which player?
I'm going to say it with my chest. Put all my cards forward, all my chips forward, and say newcomer of the year, Alistair Johnston.
Oh.
I'm saying it.
Okay.
I'm saying it.
You
guys think that's possible?
Like, I got a similar one.
Everyone's done, but I'll say my reasons. It's just I feel him coming to a new team with the expectations that he has, and with the World Cup that will be under his belt as well. I just feel like the sky's the limit for that kid. There's something about him when he plays that it's so attractive, and it's you can see that he's on a team now as well that, as Alexandre said before, they're so solidified in the back as well. I feel like it's a real recipe for him to take off and to really put his step his game up to the next level.
Okay. Ollie?
Well, yeah, firstly, I'll say there's no surprise that Gareth Wheeler's not here today. He saw a prediction segment where he'd have to put his money on the line and bowed out, made an excuse. Typical coward move. But my prediction is similar to Jordan's. I got Alistair Johnston, but I got him for Defender of the Year. I think he's maybe played second fiddle a little bit to Zimmerman in Nashville, who was obviously nominated for that award last season. But I think going to Montreal, being the main guy, the leader of that back line, I think it's going to be a good unit. I could see him being up for that. And it always helps, like, again, when you look back at the nominees like Zimmerman and Miles Robinson, always helps if you're playing for your country and getting that kind of attention as well, I think, in terms of building your case and building your stature a bit. So I'll take that.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, his confidence, obviously, what he's doing with the national team is absolutely through the roof. When you're looking at, and maybe you're going to pick the same guy here, but when you're looking at a dark horse player on a Canadian team, Ollie, who do you think would be just a player to watch that maybe isn't that name that people are already thinking about now?
Yeah, there's like a few guys that you could pick out on all the teams for this, and particularly young players. Like we saw another one, Kone, last night for Montreal. I thought looks like a real talent. Rida Zuhir the week before did the same thing. So I think you could easily go down that route, but I'm going to take it a little bit in a different direction. I'm going to go with Joaquin Torres at Montreal. I think he's someone who was like quietly pretty good last season coming into MLS. He had 4 goals, 6 assists, which are, decent numbers in your first year as an attacking midfielder. Didn't quite play the full season as well. I like this guy. I think he's really talented. I think there's times when he kind of drifts in and out of games and struggles to influence them a bit. But, as he gets more comfortable in this team and in this system, just playing in that role with Mihailovic behind Kyoto, I think he could do some damage. And I think he's got a lot of talent. So I'll take him as a dark horse to watch.
All right, Alex, who would be your dark horse?
All right. Well, after circling a bit around the wagons in the last answer, because, Jordan said going all in, I'll go all in on this one. I'm going to also go for a CF Montreal player. I'm going to go Mathieu Choinière. I just think from what he showed last year at a left wing back role, he's naturally a winger midfielder. Just to start the season, he's been playing in more what people in Montreal are saying is closer to his natural position at right wing back, and he's looked fantastic. Obviously, it's just 2 games, but based on what he showed last year, what he showed this year, the fact that Canada at the right wing back spot, there is a door open for maybe a name to kind of stake his claim behind the likes of Richie Laryea and Alistair Johnson. Also, Tajon Buchanan, we know, can play there. I think the door is open for a guy like Choinière to not only, make a dent at the club level and really become a top player for Montreal, but maybe break into the national team ahead of a World Cup year. So I think certainly the door is open for him to do a lot of things. He's still very young, and considering last year was just his first full MLS season and playing out of position, what he showed, he's just so good on both sides of the ball. And I think so far this Montreal system seems to suit him to a T.
Yeah, Jordan, you're last to go on this one.
Ollie stole my my name. Well, he didn't really steal it, but he mentioned him. Nkone.
Yeah.
Him being a player that is super exciting. And Dark Horse, definitely a player that I'm watching this season. Just because he's just so exciting on and off the ball, his movement, what he does. Definitely a player I'm going to take super interest in.
All right, CF Montreal getting a lot of love here. And I mean, listen, this was a team. Players. Yeah, a lot of young players. This was also a team, by the way, I think we all thought would be the only Canadian team to actually make the playoffs last year, because they were always in that playoff hunt. And it wasn't really until the last few games they fell out. And, it obviously ended up being Vancouver. So it was always a strong team. And now little adjustments here and there. And obviously what they're doing in CONCACAF Champions League. So I guess no surprise. But final one, when it comes to, players to watch on Canadian MLS teams, who do you think, Alex, I'll start with you. A new signing. Y'all said Alistair Johnson already. Do not go there again. A new signing on a Canadian team who will have the biggest impact.
Oh, that's I'm think for this one, I'm going to go back to Vancouver, and I'm going to go just with Tristan Blackman. I think he's a sneaky signing at the back. Maybe people aren't talking about what he can bring, but the fact that the Whitecaps got him for $400K jam, it's a steal for considering what you see the price of defenders around MLS are going for. I think that the Whitecaps, the back 3 system, he looks like he's going to start the season playing in that back 3. I think he could be a steal because the Whitecaps, with the way they're built, especially with Max Crepeau gone now, they want to have a better, overall defensive posture. Last year, they relied too much on Max Crepeau, and with Thomas Hasal in the goal, you don't want to throw him into the fire. So I think their back line's going to play a huge role in how they play. So if I'm going to go newcomers to help bring Vancouver back to where they were last year, I think a guy like Tristan Blackman's going to play a big role. And I like that move when it happened. And based on what I've seen from him in preseason, I think this is shaping up for him to have a big impact for the Whitecaps.
Okay, Ollie?
I'm going to be really boring and predictable with Insigne. Like, as the second he sets foot on North American soil, he's going to be the biggest story in the league. I think he's going to have the biggest impact, whether it's positive or negative, right? Like, either he lights the place up and then obviously he's, going to have a tremendous amount of quality, or if it doesn't go well, it's still a huge story as well, right? And it's still going to have a major impact on CFC in that way. So I can't see anyone topping him regardless of how it ends up panning out.
Do you think he'd have a bigger... I get what you're saying from a broader impact perspective, but what about Salcedo? And I love how everyone here, by the way, has been picking a lot of defensive-minded players, because we also know that tandem of Mavinga and Gonzalez, while at times looked good, last year not good, and Gonzalez obviously not coming back. I just wonder if Salcedo would be one of those guys that would have an immediate impact.
Has to be if they're going to have a chance of making the playoffs, because that's a whole new unit, right? Like he's got to have the personality, not just to be the player he is himself, but to bring that whole unit together. And by the sounds of it, he is someone who talks a lot, as a leader within the group and enjoys that kind of role. So for sure.
Okay, Jordan, final word goes to you. New signing on a Canadian team that will have the biggest impact.
I wish that you didn't say what you said, Andy, because my pick was Salcedo. But
okay, great minds think alike, my friend. Great minds think alike.
You're the big sis in the game. You school me, so we think we're in the same fan. No, but I basically just on him being such a seasoned vet center back and going to a team that I guess easily put they didn't have the best year last year, had the worst year ever. So it's a rebuilding year. So when I think about important players, you have to start from the back. Of course, the guys who make the big bucks are the players who score. So in Insigne, I can't argue with that. Him coming in and just being, eyes will be on him. He's a superstar as soon as he sets foot in Toronto. especially Little Italy. I know, Andy, you're probably doing backflips and seeing it over here.
I may have
But,
already planned the party, but whatever.
Napoli as well.
Well, yeah, by
For
the way,
sure.
Jordan, just so you know, I am half Neapolitan. So, I mean, it's not
Wow,
just
so,
an
yeah.
Italian coming
it
to the
runs
rescue.
deep.
It's
Oh,
my
it runs deep.
paisano. I'm just, yeah.
No, but yeah, so Sato, he's a seasoned vet. He's a guy that you would want in your backline. He's a guy that you'd want to build a team around. And having him and Mavinga, that's a dangerous pairing right there. So he's a guy I feel like if Toronto's going to have any success, he's a guy to bet on. And he's a guy that will just build up the franchise because obviously I'm biased. I want Toronto to be doing well and to be back at a point where they're in the playoffs and competing.
Great pick by you, Jordan. Great pick. All right, I promise I will not step on your toes moving forward on this one. But I do want to acknowledge that it is Black History Month. And, I had the privilege of just covering the Olympics where we saw Black athletes make history. Erin Jackson of the American team becoming the first Black woman to win a gold medal in speed skating, to Canada's very own Sarah Nurse becoming the first Black woman to win gold in hockey. And, we've also had Jordan Pierre-Gilles. He's a short track speed skater for the Canadians. He too won gold in the relay. And there were just so many incredible things that athletes were doing at the Olympic level. And we see it all the time in sports. CPL, I mean, Jordan, I know, especially when you guys were on, Prince Edward Island, when you had the Island Games, and that one was really coming to the forefront and taking a stand when it came to Black Lives Matter. And the CPL was really one of the first to always do, the kneeling and talking about it. And Pamadou Ka really embracing and opening his door to any players who wanted to talk about their experiences. So when you think of Black History Month, Jordan, what does it mean to you?
It's a time to reflect, quite simply, on the past, but also just where we are as a nation, in society, as a culture. It's a time to reflect on how things have been and not dwell on that, but just also how can we make the world a better place? How could we be kinder to each other? How could we spread more love as opposed to hate? How could we have a bit more understanding? So I've been saying this month is just an easier segue into all those topics, but it is something that should be pumped year round. And these are conversations that we should be having year round. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Alex, when you just think of this month and what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of echo Jordan's thought, it's a great time to reflect, I think, importantly, because the reality is sometimes in this country, we don't always look back at some of the history that we have with racism, and that continues to go on today. So it's important, obviously, to reflect on that. And then it's, amplify Black voices, because there's a lot of great Black voices out there, amplify back Black stories, and just kind of, learn more about what's going on in our communities right now to improve that those sorts of spaces. I think if you're going to look, say, in soccer specifically, because obviously we're here chatting soccer, and there's a lot of great Black stories out there that, like Jordan says, that they're going to be there year round. So it's all about amplifying that year round. And just for me, it's stories like I think of last year. One moment that really stuck out with me was when Pacific won the championship. Who hoisted the trophy was a Black captain in Jamar Dixon and led by a Black head coach in Pamadou Ka. Those stories are important for Canadian soccer, because when have we ever seen a Black captain manager duo accomplish something like that? It really shows that, these sorts of these Black figures, they're huge to our sporting history, and they make a big impact. And I just think of what a 5-year-old me, or, a 5-year-old Black kid who's out there sitting, watching a moment like that, what that could do for them in terms of inspiring them and pushing them on. So it's, for me, just, amplifying stories and reflecting on our past.
Yeah, for sure. And the World Cup this year is going to be another huge moment in that regard as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about and ask you guys about soccer media in Canada, because I don't think it's any secret that, you go into a press box in a soccer stadium in this country and you're going to see overwhelmingly white men. Hopefully that's starting to change now, but it is something that I think the whole media industry is kind of dealing with. Like you guys have kind of taken different pathways into media, one as a player, one as a young journalist, obviously trying to make his name. I'll open this up to both of you, but what has that experience been like? What's been helpful, maybe? What have been some of the challenges? And maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your experiences there.
I think I'll go first. What's been helpful is obviously, I'll talk to big sis over there right now, Andy. Just the fact that I could message you and that you would steer me in the right direction. A lot of people just maybe what might ignore a message or maybe, I guess, go to other things. But it was nice to have someone take an interest in what you wanted to do, and just be like, yeah, come and see the office, come and see the studio, come and see how things are. I think we just need to do more of that, of being open. But also on the other end is some people are afraid of past situations, past experiences. Maybe they have reached out to someone and by no fault of their own, they're maybe denied or steered the wrong direction. But yeah, to answer your question, Ali, I feel like right now with me and media, I want to be a face and a figure and a person for, as Alexandre said, just younger players or kids growing up and they want to maybe go into media and be like, yeah, this is okay. I can see a figure that I can look up to, and I could see a figure that I could be like. So that's basically what I'm just trying to do in terms of go as far as I can with it, but also just give back to the younger generation and show them that it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, to kind of echo that, for me, it's been interesting. Like you said, sitting in press box, there's been times where you just kind of look around and you're the only Black person. It's it's going to be intimidating, especially if you're young, you're trying to break into the industry. You're thinking, if this is what the future holds, what am I to do to try and break that? So it's, personally, you have to admit it's sometimes hard to deal with that. Sometimes in your head, you're thinking, am I good enough? Can I, should I belong here, etc. But I think personally, it's just about, okay, you're here for a reason. You want to back yourself. You want to do what you can. You trust your voice. Especially, say myself personally, as a young person trying to get in the into sport media, I might not have say a long playing career to back myself with either. It's just, okay, I'm here for a reason. I like covering the game. Just do what I can to put my name out there, put my voice out there, and show that no matter what I do, I'm proud to cover this sport. And doesn't matter that I'm Black or white or whatever. It is part of who I am. I'm a Black journalist, and I embrace that. And just about, again, just doing what I can and trying to erase those thoughts that naturally enter our head, the imposter syndrome, etc. So it's important to just kind of, push that down and again, just back yourself and know that you belong, and know that you can tell these stories, you can analyze these stories, and you can, and then when you get that platform to continue to amplify that, and then, like Jordan says, try and pave the way for the next ones, because in the future we want it to be more diverse. We want to embrace these various cultures, because it's it's a reality. You look on the pitch, you look at Canada's national team, for example, you got Black players, you got Latino players. We don't have any First Nations players yet. It'd be nice to get to that point, but then you look up in the press boxes, the front offices, you don't see that. So you want to just keep on changing that, and all it just comes down to believing in yourself and backing yourself every day, and just doing what you can to get your voice out there.
I know it can feel so frustrating a lot of times when we make head waves and we talk about it and we wear, patches and, no to racism and all this kind of stuff. And then there are still racists out there, and it can be so infuriating, and it can almost feel like sometimes you're not making any headway. But of course, we refuse to let them win, but we continue to have these conversations, but we also want to take action. So Jordan, I mean, what did, I don't know what suggestions you would have. How do we continue our fight to stamp out racism in soccer?
I think quite simply, it's the first thing we need to do is check our bias. So I think it's natural to maybe look at someone right away and have an assumption, but I think you got to kill it at the source. You can't let it permeate. You can't let it grow. You gotta kill it at the source. Another thing I think needs to be put in place is obviously the system that we have in place in soccer media with coaches and trainers is getting better in terms of our national team, but we need to put something in place that not caters to, but draws attention to, I guess, the minorities that are overlooked within the game. So if we have press boxes that are filled with white faces, and rightfully so, that are great at what they do, but it's the similar people coming up and up and up for generations and generation. Then we have to take the system how it is and bring light to other groups and be like, whether it be grants or committees or things in place that allow or attract minorities to come into that line of work, whether it be coaching. That could look like in England, I know that they have, like, if you're on your UEFA A, your last license, and you're a minority, like there's sponsorships or there's things in place where you can go and get your last bit. It's not paying for your whole UEFA A, but it's attracting you. It's kind of encouraging you to finish your last bit. We can do the same with media, or we could do the same with things that with soccer in Canada. It's just not paving the way for someone else, but giving them a bit of a helping hand. I think that we just need to do a better job at that.
Yeah. Alex?
Yeah, to add to that also, I think it's important to amplify these Black stories year round, because, you know, there's a lot of great Black stories out there that it doesn't just have to be February to be told. And I think to add to that, I think allyship is key, because, you know, it's nice to be able to tell those Black stories and then to help, you know, get those stories out there all year round when they happen, because, you know, if it's just the Black stories are just going to be told during 1 month, then, you know, some of the racist people, they might hide out during those times, and then they'll be out. They'll think, okay, you know, Black voices don't really matter, and they'll say these sorts of things. No, the Black voices do matter, and they do matter year round, and these stories matter. So I think allyship is key for that. And then, like Jordan says, it's important just to continue to amplify more voices. I think especially, you know, getting more in front offices and in press boxes and ensuring that, you know, the society that we see on the field oftentimes, or just in an everyday society, it starts to reflect itself in these boardrooms, these media rooms, because those are the people that are impacting our game. You look at our next generation, we're getting more and more diverse as a country. The people who are making decisions that impact our next generation don't reflect that. So if you're thinking, why would we, you know, we'd want those voices to have an impact in the next generation. So like Jordan says, it's not just about paving the way. It's almost like opening the door. It's letting the dam burst and letting these people deservingly get their voices out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I speak on behalf of Ollie as well when I say that it is an honor. It's so much fun sharing the screen with the two of you, and really appreciate you opening up and being vulnerable as well, and having these types of conversations and leading the way. And of course, the allyship is very strong here. And we appreciate it as always. And we appreciate everyone tuning in to OneSoccer.ca. Hopefully that conversation right near the end opened your eyes to a lot of things, as well as we do celebrate Black History Month. But again, it's got to be 12 months of the year as well. Jordan Wilson, and that's Alex Gangue Ruzic. That's my boy, Ollie. I'm Annie Petrillo, and we'll check in with you next time.